Hi guys, welcome again. Mark and my trusty Chief Happiness Officer Dakar here in the background, bringing you the weekly update on the future of travel. I'm in my usual hangout. Haven't been too far away from the French Alps for the last week. We've been entertaining friends and guests and nomads from overseas and doing a lot of tripping around and enjoying too much wine. Lovely restaurants, beautiful mountains, and all those things that the northern summer brings with it. Yes, here in France, things are still very nice. Summer's obviously awesome. Tourism is happening. Gite has been very busy. The beaches have been very busy. The restaurants have been very busy. Virtually all domestic. A few Brits around the place. We've had a smattering of Belgium and Germans and Swiss over the last few weeks, and but mainly French now. August being that big month of the year where a lot of French take their holidays. COVID-19 here in France, numbers are ticking up a little bit, and so we're still experiencing that bumpy ride. You might have been noticing. So the news was that I think it was last night the Norwegian government had placed all of France, not just parts of France, but all of France on the red list again, which meant that when a plane landed a few seconds past midnight back in Oslo overnight, all the people that had flown out of Nice a very short time ago were walking into a 10-day quarantine by the looks of things. So very unfortunate. The plane was due to land at 10 past midnight. I think the captain put his foot down and tried to go a little bit faster, but didn't quite make it by the sounds of things. So bumpy ride indeed. This is, as we've been talking about for many months now, this is the new norm. It's not going to be a smooth arrangement. We're seeing increasing lockdowns in various places. Paris has gone fully masked these days. The southwest of France still has a few outbreaks. A few other pockets around the place like Marseille. Luckily here in the French Alps, all very low. Hospitals all completely empty. Infection cases all very low. Even there, over the border, Italy still enjoying nice managed situation. A small uptick in a few places around Germany, but again not causing too much complaints at this point in time. But it's sort of line ball, like that French situation. People are getting very specific about their requests. Our friend who visited from London decided that because the French government doesn't announce its COVID numbers over the weekend, it was unlikely that if there was any uptick, the numbers wouldn't be out, and the British government wouldn't insist on a quarantine. So she got out on Monday before any quarantine came in. Hasn't come in yet, but there's always that risk. And I guess that's part of the decision-making process that we're all going through now. If we're going to get stuck, just be prepared for it. And make sure you've got somewhere nice to hang out. Some of the countries around the world are lightening their horrific lockdown and charging and hotels. I see some of the states in Australia have got rid of the mandatory hotel, $3,000. Thank you very much. When you're crossing the border, they've gone back to a more traditional approach, which is one of compassion for sick people, which really should be what's happening around the place everywhere. Rather than this lock the doors, keep all the strangers out and shoot everybody on sight, as it seems to be. Protests still happening around the world, as we've seen, spreading politically, lockdowns, governments still doing it tough. Eastern Europe going through a bit more of that right now, even there in Belarus, which is traditionally a very locked down, almost one of the last, is it socialist or is it communist countries still left? There's certainly a very strong, tightly controlled group of people there. They're getting some problems. Hong Kong continues to have problems. The new Chinese law is exasperating the COVID situation. Obviously their tourism is well and truly dead for now, and it's going to be a long time before the region of Hong Kong brings its way back. Good news, Thailand has decided they're going to open the country up, although they've given a long notice. It's 2021. Looks like January 2021 before Thailand becomes available to travel to again. Obviously, it's a little bit easier to know it's a long way away. People are not sitting there waiting at the borders, waiting with bated breath. The airlines, the hotels all know what to expect. They all can plan accordingly. So a lot of notice makes it easier for business to react and plan for things. That's really good news. Of course, I think we've got Bali opening up in the next month. So another great big Nomad hangout, or almost expat these days. Not so many nomads, not too much travelling going on, but people are treating their homes as Bali there in Indonesia. Australia, or particularly Victoria, they seem to have gone past the worst part of their outbreaks. The numbers of infections are starting to drop. Unfortunately, the death rates are increasing. There has been a tiny outbreak in New Zealand. And of course, anyone been tracking that or from New Zealand will know it's been well over 100 days since they've had any infections there. It looks like somebody's popped back from Australia and brought a bit of a disease with them. So, you know, instant crackdown by the New Zealand government. They are really tight onto this. And no doubt there's got an election coming up as well. So it's not really the time to be dilly-dallying and so forth. Politically, like I was saying before, things getting hot. A lot of arguments going between governments and oppositions. We are, 3 months, bit under 3 months away from the US election. We're seeing things starting to hot up over there and dominate the news-wise. Strangely, Americans dominate the news feeds around the world, so that's always very interesting. That's all nice background stuff, but what are we doing as travellers? Well, the good news is the properties are still out there. They're open. There's a level of business happening, so more and more properties are opening. Here at Nomad Stays, we're certainly getting more and more applications of properties reopen, and their scheduled opening, which they might have scheduled, they weren't opening until later in the year. That's starting to kick off. 1st of August was a kick-off for some countries, 1st of September for some countries. Domestic tourism happening well, and those people that are in country are starting to travel a little bit more. Again, an exodus out of cities. So with Madrid hitting the danger zones again, it's just been again mentioned by a few of the EU countries. The Madrid area is now into that red zone. You will expect people moving out of Madrid to more regional areas and certainly the coastal areas. Talking with a colleague the other day on the coast just out of Barcelona. He was enjoying it. It was busy, but nice because it wasn't full of tourists. So very few Brits around this year. Only really domestic Spanish and a few French. The French people have been warned about crossing over into the Barcelona area, into Catalan, but it clearly not particularly patrolled all that well. It's probably not a law, but a strong recommendation. Again, people are just balancing out the risks of looking after themselves, travelling in their own cars, their own vehicles, taking apartments that are self-contained, and are saying, yes, we can manage it. We've been managing it for months. So I think that's the answer today, is that managing this disease. Again, we've got reports of the vaccines coming around the place. Russia reckons they have a billion orders for their new vaccine. Well, I guess we'll find that out. Australia, America, UK, all with vaccines, in some final stages of testing. Fingers crossed that at least one of these is going to be a real winner and works, shall we say, broad spectrum. So for the next migration of the virus, we're all going to be okay. Then comes back to good old self-management. Masks everywhere in France these days became mandatory in all the indoor locations. In saying that, there are still gatherings. So 5,000 people is actually the maximum gathering required or permitted into France now. In some of the areas where it's got a bit hotter, they have mandatory notification of the government when there's more than 10 people. So again, easing of the laws, but still a lot of tracking going on. Clearly, tracking and tracing is the answer to protecting as many people as possible. If the governments and health authorities can find the sources, isolate them for those few days that you're in an infectious position, then it saves a whole lot of heartbreak for the community, and hopefully some lives. What else? So really, it's just more of the same. A little bit more bumpy these days. Minor changes to the borders. You know, I'm still trying to get back to Bulgaria, but now Bulgaria is one of the red areas. Italy's decided if you've been in Bulgaria in the last couple of weeks, then you've got to be quarantined as soon as you land in Italy. So check your details. It's still changing every day. Not necessarily a reason not to travel. I think we're well past the position of mass freakout, except a few countries, particularly islands, and even big islands like Australia, where people are still very much freaking out. But the rest of the world's sort of coming down to managing this and getting on with life, including travel, including business, including growing their activities, including good old growth hacking, finding new customers, prospecting, all online video conferencing. Well, not all, but almost all these days. We had a big meeting last week. A whole lot of us in a particular incubator here in France got to visit the new building. Absolutely stunning building. So for pilots like us, this building overlooks an airstrip, and the backdrop is the Alps and a lake. So it's a very prestigious sort of looking place, very open air, lots of light, nice climate controlled, or actually environmentally controlled, so that you don't need to have the air conditioners going anywhere near as much. But that's just the point, that there is building going on, construction going on, business is still happening out there, people are still building lives, careers, they're changing jobs. So we're just managing it in a different way. We certainly don't hear too much complaints these days. It's just, right, that's the way we've got to do things. So I think this style of care and balance is what we're into for quite some time. So if you're sitting back and still waiting for something to magically happen overnight, no, try to pick up the socks, put on the big boy pants and get on with life, because this is what we're in it for a couple of years. I'm going to leave it there today. I don't have too much more to add, except all of these tight little changes and so forth around the place. Reach out if you need a bit of help in business. As you know, we have a business mentoring sideline arrangement. Reach out when you're looking for the new places to stay. Tell us your favourite places you've stopped at around the world. We'd love to approach them and take them onto the network. And we're getting, you know, continual supply of new places all the time, and new properties coming on every day. What was the last one? I think we've got Cusco in Peru that's opened. We've got some more in Montenegro, Portugal, Uganda, not Congo, Nigeria. So there's stuff happening all around the place. That's just the ones off the top of my head. Get yourself a membership of Nomad Stays. Come and join us. Look out for those great deals we've got going, particularly in this era, this couple of years when things are going to be pretty attractive for travellers. And we'll see you on the open road somewhere. Cheers for now.